Hi there, it's Baz at GotAUkulele again with another instrument review and yet another plastic instrument review which seems to be gaining ground. Bit of an interesting one, this one. Do stick with it despite that design, I'll come on to that in a minute. Yeah, it's a plastic uke that I've seen knocking around on the internet, and one or two reviews have appeared from people I like. Made by a US company called Woodi, W-O-O-D-I. But this was sent to me from a UK dealer considering bringing them over and selling them on, probably under a rebadge name called Rocket, which is why it says Woodi stroke Rocket on the written review on the website. Yeah, they are blue elephants and pink and white bunny rabbits all over the instrument. Not my choice. This is the way it arrived. I would not be buying that, but do not let that cloud the judgment, because if you look on the Woodi website, you will see that these come in all sorts of colours: blacks, whites, black and white, wood effect finishes, lots of funky designs, which I suppose is the beauty of using plastic. This is not for me. Maybe for my 4-year-old daughter who loves it, but I'm not sure I'd be out there playing this one. You may disagree. It's made of plastic, pretty much completely with the exception of the tuners. So, as seems to be normal with plastic ukuleles, we have a single piece back and sides, and the back has a lovely curve to it. The neck is all part of that same piece, all the way up to the back of the headstock. And then on the top we have a piece fitted to the top. The fingerboard is plastic with plastic frets, and that's fitted on top, and the facing of the headstock is a separate piece as well. Now, compared to some other plastic ukes that I've reviewed on the website, you'll have seen my Kerala review, the Bugs Gear Ukulele review. This is about the most solid one I've ever felt. It's got a bit more weight to it. Unlike those other two, it's got no bend to it. If I squeeze it, it really is solid. And it feels much nicer. It doesn't feel shiny, and it doesn't really feel plastic. It's got a satin finish, which is really nice to hold. I really like it. It's very tactile, and I don't know what they've done to make that finish, not entirely sure, but it's certainly nicer to hold and feels more solid than any other plastic I've played, and certainly more so than the outdoor uke, which I think my readers know I'm not particularly a great fan of. But there we are. We have this interesting stylized slotted bridge arrangement, which is plastic. My gripe about that is the saddle is moulded in there. If you wanted to take the action down on this, which thankfully doesn't really need it, you've really not got a lot to play with there. You can really see there's very little to sand down. I think it would be extremely difficult to do that. And then another query. I don't know what this piece is here. It seems to be like a sound hole strengthening insert, which kind of then drops down inside the uke. The top isn't that thick. That is kind of an insert that you can wrap your finger up around on the inside of it. I don't know why they've done it. I don't know what it's hiding, is probably more to the point. I don't think something with plastic this strong needs strengthening. I mean, solid wood ukes with thin tops don't need that level of strengthening. Maybe because there's no bracing in there, I don't know. I don't really like it. I think it looks quite ugly, and why not just put a sound hole transfer on there? Don't know. There we are. The neck is all plastic, and these plastic frets are painted gold, which I suspect won't last very long. There are no fret markers anywhere, not on the side or on the front, which is a bit odd, and I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail as well. I mean, that's a pretty obvious omission, really. It's got 12 frets down to the body, and you'll notice here this is called a 0 fret, so that isn't a fret that you play. This is something that's employed by Fluke and Flea on their plastic fingerboard ukes, and it gives a perfect string height and intonation here. Because whilst it's got a nut just to guide that's really there just to guide the strings into the right spacing, and this is where the uke starts being tuned from, meaning that your intonation down the neck should be spot on. We'll come on to that in a minute as well. The headstock, I quite like the funky design, fun and different, and these are pretty basic entry-level geared tuners. the sort of thing you'd see on a Macala Dolphin. They're fine, they work okay, they're not the best. The buttons look a bit cheap plastic, but you know, there they are, screwed in. And that's it really. The strings package it comes with, they at first glance look like Ukuleles. They're not. They're shiny. They're not going to matte finish like Ukuleles. They're also the cheapest, stretchiest plastic strings you will find. I've had this for a while now, and it's still not staying in tune because those strings are still stretching out. Well, there you go. I did tune it before the video started. They're pretty horrible. I would like to see what this sounds like with some of the different strings on it, but it's not mine. So the review comes as the instrument would come to you. But my other gripe, whilst we're looking at this neck, is how thick it is. And I don't mean nut width. I mean, I like a wide nut. And this has certainly got a wide nut, but it's got a really thick, chunky, squarish profile. I've got very big hands, and to fret certain chords, it's really kind of, it's not a stretch, but it's filling my hand. Maybe because I play with my thumb around the neck, which is bad practice, but it's chunky. Now, let's go back to the design. This is clearly aimed at children. It's a plastic ukulele, which some people may say is aimed at children anyway. I don't think the neck is particularly playable. My 4-year-old daughter picked it up, and she can't get her hands around it as much as she can around a Macala Dolphin. So I'm just wondering whether they've kind of missed a trick there. It's kind of overly solid and overly chunky. For an adult, you'll be fine. But I just found that quite strange, really, particularly with this sort of design. Unless I'm missing something and the design is aimed at adults, but there we are. The package, we don't know what these are going to be priced at in the UK if they do come over. On the Woodi website in America, these are going for $100, so that's what, about 60, 70 quid. That's a crazy price. I would not pay 60 or 70 pounds for this plastic ukulele. Thankfully, if you shop around in the US on Amazon.com, I know I don't like to recommend people buy from Amazon, but I'm just telling you this as a price comparison. I've seen them for about $50 or $60, so that's about 30 quid, probably on a par with other plastic ukuleles over here in the UK. If they sell these for 30 quid, then they're on the money. If they sell them for more than that, I think it's a bit crazy. But there we go, I'm not too shocked by the price if you can get them for £30. How's it play? Well, as I say, it feels quite heavy. It's a typical soprano shape, but I don't really like the sound. It's very echoey and quite quiet when strummed, but very loud when picked. But strummed. Boxy, echoey, quite easy to mute it. The strings don't help. The strings I'm finding are catching on my fingers. But you know, this is in tune, bang on. And even with that 0 fret, I'm wondering whether about the intonation. Again, that may be down to these strings, which are horrible. But I don't think it sounds that accurate to my ears. Particularly on that A string. Better strum than picked. And I think the other plastic ukes sound a bit better than this one. But, there's the bombshell. I really like it. There's something about it that I like. It feels different, it looks different, the designs that are available are great. It's just kind of the most fun plastic uke that I've yet come across. And I know fun doesn't make for tone and volume, but if these do go for £30, that's a fun price as far as I'm concerned. Yet another uke to throw in the boot of the car and take camping or take to the beach. There's just something about this one that jumped out at me right the minute I took it out of the box. Found it preferable to things like the Outdoor, the Corolla, and the Bugs Gear. It's just got more personality. But if you are after solid tone, accuracy, and volume and projection, maybe this isn't for you. But then maybe a plastic ukulele isn't for you anyway. If you're buying one for a child, be aware of that rather chunky neck. Also be aware of the lack of the fretboard markers, because if you're going to be teaching a child, they're going to be really helpful so they know where they are on the neck. If you're already a player and you're looking for something that's a bit of fun, I think this fits the bill. It's a bit of a review of two halves, this one. I think there's things I don't like about it, but overall the package makes me smile. That's a good thing, I think. There we go. The Woodi.